Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Hope so you people are enjoying great health or in a better mood. Well, it's literally a long time after joining you again, and today we have an interesting story to discuss with you peoples. And our title of the story is Girl Meet Boys. पहले भी हम बहुत सी स्टोरीज को डिस्कस कर चुके हैं और बहुत सी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरीज को भी हम लोगों ने पढ़ा है। इसी तरह अब हम जो इस स्टोरी को भी पढ़ने जा रहे हैं बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है। मेक श्योर एवरीवन शुड बी विजिलेंट एंड एक्टिव। और लोग इफ यू आर न्यू ऑन आवर यूट्यूब चैनल देन काइंडली डू सब्सक्राइब, शेयर एंड मोस्ट prefer a notify button as well, so that you will get an interesting videos of our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel name is English with Professor Faizan. Now come to the story. This story is about Girl Meets Boy, a story written by Derek Strange, and this is the publishing by Penguin Readers. A very great and interested publisher he is. Donna's story, and she is actually depicting her story by herself. So my story starts in late July. It was July 21st, I think. It was the first day of our holiday, a hot July day. I stood in the sun and looked at the sea. It was 11 o'clock in the morning. I was on the boat at Portsmouth with my mother and father and my sister Lois. Seabirds play near our big boat and the small boats near us on the sea. I started to look at the people with us on our boat. They all watched the seabirds and talked and laughed. They were all happy on the first day of their holiday too. And suddenly there he was, this tall, quiet boy in a blue and white shirt. He was really good looking. I'll always remember the first time I saw him. He did not see me then. He was with some friends. One of the boys was his brother. I think they had the same blue eyes, the same mouth and the nose, nearly the same hair. His brother and one of the boys with him tried to catch the seabirds and he smiled at them. Then they came and stood near us and they talked about the small boats on the sea. I watched him over Lois's head all the time. His brother and his friends made a lot of noise, but he was quiet and he did not talk a lot. Then suddenly he looked at me and his eyes stayed quietly on me and he smiled his lovely smile with his shy blue eyes. The people near me on the boat, the sun, the sea, the birds and the noise of his friends' time, it all stopped. At that moment there was only him and me and him and his smile for me, only for two of us. Slowly, very slowly, the boat started to move away across the water to Spain. It takes a day and night on the boat from Portsmouth to Stendhal into Spain. A day and a night together on the same boat with him. It was a big new boat with cafes, shops, a cinema and a disco. In the evening, Lois and I went to the disco together and we had a cake and listened to the music and watched a dances. But he wasn't there. Then suddenly a tall boy in a black and white shirt came in. It was him. He was with a friend. They stopped and looked slowly at all the peoples in the disco. It was dark in there and he stood and looked for a long time. Then he saw me and he smiled a big, friendly smile. I wanted to stand up and sing and dance with him. He came across the room and stopped near out the table. And he asked me to dance. Do you want to dance? Suddenly he wasn't shy with me. We danced together for a long time after that. But then I looked up and there was a second tall boy in a blue and white shirt at the door of the disco with the same eyes and the same mouth and nearly the same hair. But the boy near the door had that nice, quiet, shy face, not a big, open, friendly smile. Suddenly I knew this was his brother with me on the dance floor, not him with the wrong brother. He stood for a moment near the door and watched me and his brother on the dance floor with his sad eyes. I wanted to run to him to take his sad face in my hands and say sorry. He looked at me and then he went out quickly. I stopped dancing, walked back to my table and sat down. His brother started to dance with Lois. I did not sleep that night. I thought about him all the time and listened to the noises of the boat and the sea. In the morning, I went to the cafe at 8 o'clock and waited there with my sister for a long time. I wanted to say sorry to him. I had cups of coffee, and I don't really like coffee, but he did not come. Where was he? Where was he? At 11 o'clock, we arrived in Satender. I wanted to stop the bus. I wanted to stop the holiday. I wanted to go back to England. I always wanted to see him again, to talk to him, to ask his name. But he wasn't there. Where are you? I want to see you again. Now, my story. I started Spanish at school in September and I like it. We have got a good teacher, Old Webb, Mr. Webb, not Old Webb. My mother always says to me, he isn't old, you know. Old Webb, sorry. Mr. Webb always takes some people from our school to a place in Spain for the first 2 weeks of the holidays every July. Old Webb is okay, not bad for a teacher. Now link line word. We were at Portsmouth with old Webb, sorry, Mr. Webb and Mr. Webb, Mrs. Webb. She's from Argentina. All the boys think she's good looking too. There was 6 of us with the Webbs, Harry Potts and his sister Sonia. Nick Elton, he is a good friend. Sue Bellamy, she is clever. My brother Dave and me, we are 14 and we are good friends too. Usually, there were husbands of peoples on the boat. It was hot in the sun, a lovely day. People watched the sea and the small boats. I liked being in the sun, thinking about the 2 weeks holiday in Spain. Old Webb started one of his stories about Argentina, but I didn't listen. I started to look at the people, and this girl was there near me, a really good looking girl with nice brown eyes and black hair. I am really shy and I am not very good with girls. I did not talk to her then, but I watched her with her sister and her mother and father. Then they walked away. She smiled at me for a moment before they week. My brother Dave saw her and he laughed quietly at my face. Hey, she's smiling at you, and you are all red in the face. You are in love. Hey man, you are in love. I wanted to see her again, perhaps in the cafe at lunchtime or perhaps in the cinema in the afternoon. But she wasn't there and I don't remember the film. In the evening, we had a drink with Old Webb and a lovely Lucrezia. That's our name for Mr. Webb. After that, Dave and Harry went to the disco. They wanted to meet some girls. I don't like dancing, but I went to the disco later. I wanted to see her again, the lovely girl with the dancing brown eyes and the nice smile. It was dark in the disco and I stood near the door and watched the dancers. Then I saw her on the dance floor and she was with Dave, with my brother. Dave? She smiled at him too, a lovely smile. I didn't want to watch. I walked out. I went and looked at the sea and thought about things quietly. I thought about her and Dave. Oh no, she's with Dave. I was up early in the morning. Before 6 o'clock, I went out again and watched the early morning sun and the sea. There was only one old man and the seabirds there with me. The old man smiled at me, but we did not talk. I liked being quiet. I went in and had a coffee in the cafe, but I didn't want to eat. All the time I wanted to see her. I wanted her to walk into the cafe and came across to my table and sit down with me and tell me her name and talk to me, but she did not come. I waited and waited, but she did not come. At 8 o'clock, I went to find Nick and Dave. Dave was very quiet all day and he was very nice to me. And I did not see her again before we arrived at September at 11. She wasn't there. Will she come? Now, the town story. Comilas is a story town 50 kilometers from the Santander near the sea. In the town there are quiet streets of old buildings and there is a small square. There are small shops and cafes with the tables and chairs. In the square around the trees a lot of people from Madrid come to Comilas for their holidays and a lot of people from England stay in the town too. In the evenings in June and July and August, people like and walk in the streets of Kamala. They stop in the square and stand and talk together. The children play together. Some people sit at the sea at the cafe tables and have a drink and watch the children or read their newspapers or talk. It was disco night in the Comilas on the evening after the boat arrived in Santander from the Portsmouth. There was a lot of people in the square, Spanish people from Comilas and Madrid, but families from England and France, Germany and Holland too. Some of the English families from the boat were there now, in Comilas for a ride, or night or two. Donna was there with her family at a table under some trees. Her eyes were on the dancer, but she did not see them. The music was in her ears, but she did not hear it. She did not want to look or listen or dance. She did not want to be there. She only wanted to see the lovely, shy boy from the boat, perhaps to dance with him. I only want to see him again, perhaps dance with him. First, Mr. and Mrs. Webb wanted to go on a little place near the beach where they always had good fish. They wanted to have good time on their first evening in Spain, and later there was a disco in the square at Comilas. Let's go and eat at one of the places down near the beach. Then we can go to the disco in the square at Comilas, okay? Okay, yeah, right. Mark didn't want to go. He did not want to eat or dance or talk or laugh. He wanted to sit quietly, where think about the good-looking girl on the boat. Where was the now? Where was she now? But Dave and Harry and Nick and Saw all wanted him to go. Later that evening, he wanted it into the scale at Comelas with his friends. They found a table at one of the cafe and they all sat down. Mark looked slowly at the people at the tables near them. Donna looked sadly at the people dancing and standing in the square. Then their eyes met. Time stopped. He was here. She was here. He smiled at her with his nice blue eyes. She smiled back at him with her dark brown eyes. Suddenly he wasn't shy. He stood up and started to walk across to her. She was on her foot. Their hands met. She wanted to dance now, only with him. The others watched and smiled. They all knew, and Dave watched and smiled happily. You are done. You are only. Dave really knew the story. Only Dave knew his plan for his brother, and Donna and Mark stood to dance. They were together. My plan worked. You see, Mark is always really shy with girls, and I wanted him to move to get together with that girl. That's why I wanted him to see us at the disco, to stop being shy with the girls, to move. So, this is actually the story, and Donna sees Mark on the boat to Spain. She likes him and he likes her. Then Mark sees Donna dancing with his brother Dave. Is Donna in love with Mark? Why is Dave dancing with her?